Our many African leaders, and not all of them, I can isolate a few African leaders who are switched on. President John Joseph Pombe Magufuli knows what he wants, and he has cancelled contracts with Chinese and said anybody who enters into a contract of this nature must be a fool or a madman. That is a sensible African leader. President Paul Kagame of Rwanda has also done the same thing. The appetite that China has for natural resources is informed by the reality of China at home. They have a population of 1.4 billion. That population must be fed. The Chinese leaders have decided that they want to make China the factory of the world. And they have an insatiable appetite for African natural resources. They have appetite for copper. They have appetite for coltan. They have appetite for uranium. They have appetite for diamond. They have appetite for timber. It is insatiable. They are gluttonous, and it is our duty to checkmate them before they consume us. If we don't, in the next 20 years, our new colonizer, in a very subtle way, will be China.
But how then do we ensure that we have a win-to-win situation when dealing with China?
Two things. Zambia, your country, is a member of SADC. And SADC is a regional body comprising 14 countries. In East Africa, we have the East African Community. In West Africa, we have the ECOWAS. In Central Africa, we have the Central African Community. And in the North, we have the Maghreb. When we deal with China, we must negotiate regionally. And beyond that, we must negotiate continentally. And you remember that there is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which ought to have taken effect on the first day of July, but for COVID. And is going to take effect from the month of January 2021. When we negotiate with China, let us negotiate regionally or continentally, because in that way we are strong. You imagine Deng Xiaoping negotiating with the Prime Minister of Lesotho, which is 10 times smaller than Beijing. There is no negotiation there. It is simply manipulation. But if you negotiate in the context of SADC, then you are negotiating as a strong team with a population of nearly 300 million. And that is a big market, bigger than the market of the United States of America. If you are negotiating with an ECOWAS, you have a population of nearly 400 million. You are negotiating in East Africa. You have a population of another nearly 300 million. You are negotiating with the Maghreb, another 200 million. Then you are beginning to make sense from an economic perspective, and China will respect you. So some of the things that Africans must stop doing is attending these meetings, TICAD, Japan calling African leaders to go to Tokyo, China calling African leaders to go to Beijing, the Arabs calling African leaders to go to Dubai, the European Union summoning African leaders to go to Davos. The time has come. We have been summoned for too long. The time has come that we must be met on our own terms.
Yeah. Well, to me,
the men and women of resolve.
Yeah. Well, to me, the solutions you've given, Prof, don't seem to be very technical. I feel this is information that is even at the fingertips of our African leaders. What or why do you think we have not taken that particular stance so that our negotiations, can have a win-to-win situation?
There is nothing technical about what I've said. If you look at the constitutive documents of the East African Community Treaty of 1999, you look at the ECOWAS treaty, and only 2 weeks, in fact, a few days ago, the ECOWAS met in Niamey, Niger, and President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo was elected as the chairman. There is nothing technical. These are actually in the constitutive documents. If you go to SADC, you'll find it is in the constitutive documents. If you go to the African Union, it's in the constitutive documents. You go to the African Charter, or rather African Continental Free Trade Area, it is there. And if you go a little further in the Lagos Plan of Action of 1980, it is there. If you go to the Lomé Convention of 1975, it is there. If you go to the Cotonou Convention of 2000, it's there. All these things are there. What we lack are men and women of resolve and vision. Men and women who are capable of identifying and prioritizing what is in the best interest of Africa. And we also have you people in the media. You are also part of the African problem. Because you are trained to think in a manner that is Eurocentric, sometimes the questions you ask are also not helping anybody. They are self-serving. They are meant to catch what I call sound bites, and you don't go into the depths. So the African media is also part of the African problem. The African population is also part of the African problem because of ignorance. So you, the media, must wake up, because you are consuming news that is manufactured by Reuters, news that is manufactured by Xinhua, news that is manufactured by AFP. There is no thinking in the African media. The questions that you ask are rudimentary and basic and not useful to any African. So you too must style up if Africa is to realize our potential.
How then do we begin slowly, to realize the potential, that we have?
A number of things, and I'll give you practical examples. Rwanda, 1994, genocide, her obituary written. The world had abandoned her. 25 years later, leadership that is focused, that knows what it wants. If you haven't visited Kigali, visit Kigali. Forget these people that you see in social media, Instagram and Twitter, who are Kagame haters. Let them go to Rwanda and see what that administration has done. Go to Tanzania in 5 years. Go to Dar es Salaam. Go to Mwanza. Go to Dodoma. See what that administration has done. Go to Ethiopia and see what Prime Minister Abiy has done. Go to Ghana, despite the protestations of the naysayers and professional fault finders, and see what has been done. Go to Namibia and see what Hage Geingob has done. Go to Botswana. Go to Mauritius and see what has been done. Many people that you see, particularly on social media, who are quick with their fingers on Instagram and Twitter and all these other medias, these are armchair theorists whose only claim to fame is that they find fault. They have a problem for every solution. But I, who travel across Africa and see what is happening on the ground, I can tell you for a fact that there are African leaders and African professionals who are doing great things. Look at our own, in the business world, look at our own in Kenya, James Mwangi in the banking industry. Look at Aliko Dangote in Nigeria. Look at Obi Jackson. Look at Tim Tebela in South Africa. Look at Patrice Motsepe and many other people who are doing great work in the African scene. And people don't talk about this. We talk about Ronaldo and Lionel Messi and how many goals they scored, as if that was any important, chasing a little ball around the field.
Yeah. Let's come to your general assessment of how, governance is being transacted in the continent of Africa. What is your general assessment of how, leadership is transacted in Africa?
First of all, I have a problem on a number of scores. The conceptual West, to mean the United States of America, which is the hegemon in the West, and the traditional West, and Australia and New Zealand, made us to believe that democracy equals to multi-party politics, democracy equals to periodic election, democracy equals. I'm now of the view that there is not a one-size-fits-all democracy, and that Africa must now begin to re-examine how she governs herself in different ways. Because what is democracy when all is said and done? Democracy is a government that allows people to participate in determining who will lead them. And that leader is a servant. It is not the duty of the Western world to tell us what to do. And that is why you see many Western embassies and ambassadors are very arrogant. They come to Africa, and a little ambassador from the United States of America wants to dictate to the Zambian president and to the Zambian people. An ambassador from some backwater country in Europe thinks that he's some kind of demigod who tells us what to do. And our leaders also accepted the time has come that leaders in Africa must respect human rights. They must respect freedom of expression. They must respect the fact that their positions of leadership is position of servanthood. And they must accept that no matter how good a dancer you are, you must know when to leave the stage. They must accept that leadership is intergenerational and co-generational. They must also appreciate that we are a diverse and heterogeneous society, and therefore they must include everybody. Once that happens, then leaders in Africa, including Eja Lungu, whom I respect but I don't agree with on many issues, will begin to govern in a manner that is in the best interest of their countries and the continent of Africa. Otherwise, they are completely unremarkable. In Zambia, look at your first leaders. They were remarkable people. People like Mwanga, people like Kapwekwe, people like Kaunda, people like Levi Mwanawasa. These were effective people, but you now have dwarfs as leaders.
Well, you've spoken of the fact that you don't agree with President Lungu on a number of issues. What are some of those issues that you don't agree with him on?
First of all, he's running the economy very badly. The economy of Zambia is not doing well, and he knows it. Secondly, he's intolerant to the opposition. He is not a Democrat. And thirdly, he's a demagogue who doesn't believe in issues. And fourthly, he's paranoid. And when you have that combination, that cocktail of characteristics, the net effect is that you can't serve your country well. I look to the day, personally, because he denied me entry into Zambia, I look to the day when he'll invite me to Zambia and tell me what he thinks. I remember in Malawi, I had criticized President Professor Patrick Wamutharika, but he invited me to Malawi in Lilongwe, and I sat with him at the State House, and I told him why I disagreed with him. And ultimately, my point of disagreement is what caused his removal by President Chakwera. Because I told him, President, you cannot run a country where you are saying that you cannot deal with corruption. And he told me, but I'm just one person. I said, but you are the president. You want us to praise you when things are happening well. But when things are not happening well, you want us to forget it? President Lungu, who is a lawyer like me, who went to law school and went through a course in human rights, a course in jurisprudence, is so intolerant that when at one time Hakainde Hichilema was charged with a traffic offense of blocking him, he said it was treasonable. Is that a lawyer who can say that a traffic offense is treason? You can see why I fault President Lungu.
Yeah, well, you sound so bitter.
No, I'm not. I don't. I am passionate. You must distinguish passion and bitterness.
Do you have anything personal?
Why should I be bitter? I'm not a citizen of Zambia. I survive in Kenya. If I'm not invited, I'm simply, you must be in a position. That is the problem with you journalists. The inability to distinguish between passion and bitterness. And that is a very typical African journalist speaking to me now.
Yeah, you've spoken about one issue really that is very critical. You spoke about corruption. Now we do know for a fact that the corruption